State Representative Mark Batanick joins us now. Representative Batanick, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on. I actually was kind of hoping you'd be moving to the afternoons because coming on in the morning, it makes
Don't
me
fall
want
asleep, Mark.
Right. Yes.
Don't you dare.
You've been forewarned by Kim Jong-un. So, Mark, I want to talk to you about funding of higher education. This has been a point of discussion in the budget conversation because you have higher ed in Illinois complaining about funding cuts and that the state isn't, holding up its end to provide funding for community colleges and four-year universities in Illinois. This is one of the reasons why tuition keeps increasing. According to them, you sit on the Higher Ed Appropriate Committee in the Illinois House. Is that complaint among higher ed officials a fair one?
Well, I guess fortunately and kind of unfortunately, no, it's not a fair one. One of the reasons I asked to be on the Higher Ed Committee, Appropriations Committee, was I have 5 kids. My first one just left the state for her freshman year at Truman State University because of the affordability issue. I studied our directional schools, ISU and University of Illinois, and we are 30 to 60% more expensive in tuition than their public conference peers. So U of I versus the Big Ten, ISU versus the Missouri Valley Conference, et cetera. And I'd always assumed that it was because the state's finances were in such bad shape, we weren't funding higher ed. And it took me a while to kind of dig down and really get the numbers that I needed. But, to my shock, we actually spend nearly double the national average in full-time equivalent funding. So we spend $12,293 per full-time equivalent student versus a national average of $6,552. There's only 2 states that spend more money per student than we do.
So why is it, if you ask the state university representatives, they'll say, well, other states are right-to-work states and have union contracts. Is that really the reason why?
Well, yeah, it's part of it. And both privately and in committee, I can give you a list of what they said. Administrators and presidents have said the following. I drilled down. At first, this isn't what they were talking about, but when you really drill down, what I've gotten on record is they do talk about other states are right to work. They also talk about prevailing wage, and it's kind of simple. If your dorm costs 20, 30, 40% more to build, you either have to charge 20, 30, 40% more, or you get 20, 30, 40% less dorm.
Right, but there has to be something more going on because, as you said, the 30 to 60% higher tuition cost, and yet Illinois providing twice the subsidy that other states are providing. So there has to be more going on than just collective bargaining agreements.
Well, there is, and I'm going to give you drill down and give you some more examples. The main thing that people have said is the cost of doing business in Illinois is high. It's across the board. I'm going to give you let's talk about insurance. The University of Illinois' liability insurance has gone up 1,000% in the last 20 years. And they cite in their document, the litigious court system in Cook County. Their workmen's compensation costs have gone up. And another big one is procurement costs. So this is crazy. It is so hard for the University of Illinois to buy things, to work with CMS, Central Management Systems, that some of the federal grants that they'd like to have, they house at Purdue so our professors can work on them through Purdue because it's virtually impossible for them to just work with our old, outdated system, I guess. It's just too complicated. And if we were to take that off of them, it's a potential savings right there of $80 million alone for the University of Illinois. And that equates to $1,500, $1,600 per student.
I've got one way a line I can save a little money too. They can fire their basketball coach John Gross. They could save a little money there. Just a suggestion.
Is he grossly overpaid? Well, but you look at it. Do you think Illinois' bad reputation financially is the reason why some out-of-staters aren't coming here? If you look at Eastern Illinois University, gosh, they peaked at 12,000 students. They now only have 8,000. That's a big difference.
You took one of my talking points. I think that might be a little bit of it, but actually the University of Illinois has partly, probably, I'm assuming due to its expenses, they've really upped the amount of international students coming to it. So in 2009, 16% of the kids, incoming freshmen, were international. Now it's 23%. So it's really a cost factor. When I look at my daughter and I talk to, friends and people who are going away to college and she talks to her friends, it's an affordability issue. People who are in Illinois, they just can't afford to stay in Illinois.
Yeah.
And I hate to throw another crisis into the mix, but frankly, I don't know how we're going to solve any issue long term if our brightest and best are leaving the state.
Yeah, and to that point, there was a Federal Reserve Bank of New York study a couple of years ago. I wonder if this is still true from your research, that only New Jersey exports more of its college-bound high school seniors than Illinois.
That's correct. We're 16,500 net export, and New Jersey is the only state that is higher.
So there you go. And like your daughter, I mean, I don't know if she'll come back, hopefully, but a lot of students, they go away to college, and then they don't come back, and they're particularly not coming back to a state that doesn't have job opportunities in their chosen discipline.
That's correct. I mean, you look at my daughter's situation, she's going to get a degree that requires a state certificate. So she'll be getting a Missouri state certificate. She's dating somebody from Missouri. She'll probably intern in St. Louis. So there's a strong chance that Missouri has essentially stolen my daughter from us. And if we can get tomorrow six-figure income earners, or so, if a state can steal somebody like that, that's a boom for their economy. That's probably one of the best deals that a state can do, is to get somebody that's 22, 23, and might have 40 good taxing years to give to the local economy.
What I hear you saying is that Illinois cannot simply rely on Illinois college-bound seniors who go to Iowa and come back to Illinois. That's just not going to be enough, Amy. I hate to break it to you. We're going to need more than the Iowa grads to turn this economy around. And so, given what you've just outlined, what's the conversation in Springfield about the level of subsidy being provided to higher institutions of higher learning, allegedly, and some of these other conversations that are impacting where college-bound high school seniors here go to college?
Well, at my last committee hearing, kind of the attitude was, well, we need to deal with that stuff later. We've only got a few weeks left for the budget. My attitude is I'd rather have a good budget in July than a bad budget in May. And I think you can't – the mistake a lot of us seem to make down here is we don't look at things in an interconnected way. I can't talk about budget unless I start solving these reform issues. So we are a little bit at an impasse with that, but I am hopeful. I do intend on filing some bills, albeit late past the deadline, but, you know, I guess I have to try, especially when some of it is self-inflicted.
We're talking to State Rep Mark Batanick. Before we let you go, Mark, we had Mitch Daniels on the show last week. He's now, of course, the president of Purdue University. He mentioned that he stopped when he became Purdue University president 36 years in a row of tuition increases. The last 3 years he's frozen tuition at Purdue. Is that a conversation you're having with university presidents at all?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I do give the University of Illinois credit, even with the potential cuts. They've said that they can't raise tuition anymore. They've kind of reached their max. But yeah, that is the tuition is something that's talked about. But I can tell you that they would like some relief. The procurement's the easy one, but just overall, they certainly would like some regulatory relief. So that my goal isn't even just to freeze tuition. We need to lower it.
All right, State Representative Mark Batanick, Republican from Plainfield. Thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thanks for your time.